Welcome back to Beyond Territory. This is Doug again, and in today's episode I'll show you how you can make your own stone bridge to go over your river. As usual, do a little doodle, sketch, kind of get an idea of the concept of what I'm trying to put together, and that gives me something to refer to whilst I'm building, and it might change, it might adapt along the way, but at least I've got an idea what I'm aiming for. So let's see what happens. You need to work out how far or how big a distance you need to traverse over your river. So first measurement, make sure you've got your depth, so your width of your river, and also the depth. Obviously you need a bit of clearance to get over side of the river as well. So get your measurements, jot it down on a bit of paper so you've got something to refer to. All right, what I'm going to use for this build is foam core board. Okay, it's really light, it's strong. It's really versatile to cut into. It's easy to glue with hot glue, to be quite quick. I can also put PVA on it. I can paint it. I can change it. It's lightweight. It's strong. It's all the good. It ticks all the boxes for making. So with my design, I've decided I'll do quite a long bridge with a nice gap in the middle to pass over the river. So I've decided that, well, from measuring the width of my river, I need to clear at least 12 centimetres, which is basically 4¼ inches. So it has to be that wide, the opening middle part. But it also has to have a bit of height on it for it to look like a cool bridge. If it's too shallow, it won't work. And if it's too close to the edges and not enough of an angle, it's going to get caught on the banks of the river, and that's just not going to work either. I want it to try to be as flexible in as many different types of rivers as possible, so I can use it in lots of different games. Height clearance of about 4 centimeters, which is 1½ inches. And then what I've done, I thought, well, this is for 28mm figures. So what I've got at the top is a 25mm clearance, which is 3/4 inch from where the base of where the bridge will be to the height of the wall of the bridge. I need to make sure when he's walking over it, the side of the walls aren't too high, but they're not too low either. I want it to be a working bridge. I would like my bridge to have sloped edges coming down the middle, but I also want a bit of a defence on either side of the curve of the tunnel of the bridge. So I use a Stanley, cutting out my bridge, slowly cutting through all my lines of what I've marked out. But what I'm going to do, because it's a curve, I'm going to cut from the middle down. Instead of doing that full circle, I'm just going to do 1/4 of a circle, slowly cut through it. Okay, nice and clean cut. Just want to make sure you're going through nice and cleanly as best you can on both sides. Okay, next bit, I'm going to build on a little bastion here. That's the thing that's sticking out as a defence. I've seen it on a few designs. Let's pull my drawing back over just to remind you. These little triangle redoubt pieces, I don't even know what they're called, but they look cool. I want to build them. There you go, it's 40mm wide, so just over 1.5 inches. Okay, it's the height of my bridge. Found the middle point, slice it in half. What I'm going to do is take the corner off, like so, really carefully, all the way down the edge. Mark out, I'm placing one piece on top of the other, and I want to get the width marked out of one piece of foam core on the other. Okay, like so. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut through the layer of the foam, but I'm not cutting all the way. I need to make sure that I'm not cutting all the way through. Almost through. And then I take from the side, I slice into the foam, and I can pick it away. It butts right up to it. I get a nice clean edge when it's glued. So get my hot glue gun, run a bead of hot glue at an angle just along the side here in the depth. So, work quite quickly. Make sure the glue is coming on the inside. Press them together, like so. So that holds together quite nicely. One layered in the other. A nice, good, quick, easy joint to join two bits of foam core card together. Now what I'm going to do is glue the tapered edges and stick it here and here. And I use my line and marking out, so to work out where this piece needs to go. So I basically measured between bottom of the curve to there, about 2 centimetres. I made this 4 centimetres, cut it in half, have enough of a tapered edge to put together to make my triangular piece sits on my bridge. Okay, now you can see the triangular pieces. I'm going to get my tapered part of my bridge. So what I did, I measured up 1 centimetre, both ends of my bridge, there and there. And I measured 1 centimetre down from where I wanted my triangular redoubt things. And then I joined up an equal diagonal to the corners. So I've got my slope on my bridge. Line up my ruler from there to there. A bit awkward when you try and do it on the camera, but you guys find your best comfortable position. I just want to try and show you without. Piece off. Ta-da. Now, add a bit of detail. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do about a 2 centimetre piece of wall here and here. Same method for tapering. Another way, use your chopping mat where it's got the lines, you can get a nice good angle. Keeps them all even then. So I've got a nice tapered piece. Just going to make sure it's in the right spot. The point at where 2 centimetres reaches is where I'm going to stick it. So there you go, little blob. I did a complete copy of another one. Alright, just made sure it all lines up where I wanted to. I've got my bridge, the outer pieces of my bridge. So there you go. Stuck a tapered piece, a bit like that. That end and same that end. And I put a bit in the middle of the bridge. Okay, so when my platform, my base of my bridge sits, I've got something to strengthen and go against it. I'm going to do that on both of them. Alright, now for the base of the bridge, I'm just going to use a bit of old cereal box card. You've got to determine how wide you want your bridge to be. I've decided mine to be about 80mm. Okay, so I mark it off. One side, I use the edge of the box, kind of helps with keeping a straight edge. You want it. Obviously you've got to think about how wide you need your bridge to be. Obviously I've gone to consider what I want to put over my bridge. So maybe a unit of men marching in column, or maybe think about maybe the width of a tank you want to move over, or a base size of cavalry moving over your bridge, and that determines how wide you want your bridge to be. All right, once you cut out your piece of card, this will sit nicely over the inside edge of your bridge that you built and make a nice strong platform for your cobblestones to be built up on. Okay, so I've just got my base and my bridge onto this to make them like the main structure. It's nice and lightweight, but it's strong, tough. And then what you've probably noticed underneath, I've got a bunch of bricks that have already been I've been cutting and trimming for a while, so I have quite a few. But just to give you a heads up on how I make my bricks, it's quite simple. I don't want to overcomplicate it, and probably as the thing, you can buy bricks, XPS foam bricks. I think you can buy like a bag of them already made, but to make them yourself, it's really quite easy. Doesn't matter what size really. I go for kind of like 1/2 centimetre, which I suppose is about 1/4 of an inch. Let's move this out of the way so you see it easier. Right, so I've cut a sliver off with some scrap bits that I have. And then what I do, cut into little pieces, depends on how thick. I use my bread knife, it's just as good. And I just cut them into rectangular pieces. Next task is to make the perfectly sawn, shaved, knife cut pieces or hot wire cut pieces into a little bit more rough edge. And I use this highly advanced technical piece of equipment known as a box with some stones in it. And all you do, put a bunch in, just fill the bottom layer about, I don't know, 1 inch deep, I suppose, a couple of centimetres deep. Enough so there's lots of movement. Close your container. You can use any kind of pot, as long as it's got a lid, and you can put stones in it and it's going to smash the pot or container. And then just give it a big shake. And what you'll see, you get lots of the edges taken off, indentations put on the bricks, laying the bricks or the cobbles all the way over the bridge. Now, what I tend to do, a nice bead of hot glue down first, lay your first brick to the edge, and all the way along, pieces. And what I do is start with the first one being in between the edges of that one, like that. Should get that staggered. Alright, as you can see, I've cobbled my bridge. I've laid all the bricks, all the way across the top. Bricks. So I'm just going to take my glue gun in on the side edge and come out with my slightly thinner bricks on the sides like that. So now I've done the inside of the bridge. I've got all my cobblestones in and around it. I'm going to start with the arch of the bridge and then work around the overhanging curve. I'll build them in, dollop of it. You can then start filling in the gaps of the bricks, keeping the big brick pattern going all the way around. You get probably a bit caught up in your hot glue and your XPS seems to like to stick to you occasionally. Just trim away, you see under here, the excess bricks that have kind of been laid following the curve. So you see I've trimmed away the edges and I have a nice curved arch for my bridge. So I've finished bricking. Whilst watching TV last night, I managed to do all the bricking around the sides, front and the other sides. To just show you, if I take it on the side, I'm just trimming. Take it like that way. Bit awkward for me, but you get to see my point. Take my knife and come along the edges. And if it's uneven brickage, I'm just taking that height off so it's even. Alright, also I'm going to cut away the bastion shapes. So if I show you on this one, following the angle of the diagonal, saw down to the floor of the base of the bridge. I'll do again this way. And then come across so, and then just pop out the piece that sits in there so you have the triangle redoubt. Alright, so I've filled in the bricks, my little redouty bits after slicing the edges off. And now I can get back to bricking the tops. Okay, so bricks have been added all over the bridge, inside, outside, etc. I've trimmed the edges that are excess. It's looking pretty cool. And now it's all about kind of holding it together. So bring out the magic Mod Podge and basically I go to town slapping it all over very generously over the entire bridge. All right, got my base coat of like a grey on there. I'm just kind of come in now with not a dry brush, but just a little bit thicker dry brush, I suppose. I don't even know, like a mid brush, I suppose. All right, once that's done, once we've got the grey on there, a little bit of a, I don't know, 3/4 dry brush. I'm going to go in there now with a couple of brownie colours. This is slightly more than a dry brush. Just to give you a closer view, a bit of a brown tinge in there, a bit of weather. Looks quite cool. And then what I'm going to do now is come in with a bit of a dry brush of white. Not probably all of them, just a few edges. Try to pick out the raised bricks in the pot. And on the sides, make sure I'm going down the stone so the light is hitting the top of the stone. And give the highlights on top of the stone. I think it's always quite good to add a little bit of textures into your terrain. Gives it a bit of life to it, really. So what I'm going to do, just coming in with my white glue, my PVA, and I'm just going to put in some fine sand. And then I'm going to come in the similar places, adding some brown ground. It's like fine, it's not finer, it's thicker, pebbly stone. And I'm going to come in with my cork, slightly bigger rubble, just into the piles, so get the different sizes broken up, scattered around. Now it's time for some flocking. Start with my burnt grass. This is Woodland Scenics stuff. Again, think about, I'm going to get into some of the cracks over the bridge, the wall, and the bricks and stones. Just look like there's weeds growing through. You can even go back into it at a later date if you wanted to, add some more. A bit of a big brush for this, but still does the job. So some of the cracks, crevices, where I think grass and moss will grow, especially on the bottom edge around the river bed, seeping up the walls here and here. It's definitely going to get some green stuff growing. Okay, I'm going to take my bit of burnt grass. I'm going to add in some longer flock. It's like a summer flock, but I'm not going to put it on the sides of the bridge. And I'm not going to put it everywhere. I'm just going to do it sparingly. It's almost like little highlights. Just to put an extra shade of green. I'm just going to add on some summer undergrowths. Some weeds, vines. This stuff is really cool. Pull apart. A range of different colours. You can make it look like pretty cool vines and stuff. Again, bit of PVA. Good thing about this, it always dries clear, so I'm always quite generous with it. I'll find the bottom of it and just have a bunch of it climbing up the wall. You can scatter it however you like. That's how old and derelict or worn or however you want your bridge to be, really. Slightly closer, hopefully that gets you tight. Yeah. Nice bit of tone and texture on that. Once you've finished your flocking, what I do, or what I've used, is the Wargaming Scenics, okay? And I use the matte sealant. And it nicely holds everything in place, so you don't get your bits of flock falling off and going everywhere. And that last little coat getting everywhere, fairly generous with it.